Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the podcast app tutorial on Velocity 360. In the last video, we just did some basic setup. We got the Express app going, the Node Express app, and we made a API endpoint for searching the iTunes search API. And so in this video, we're going to set up the React side, going to install the template, the theme, and then we're going to start hacking out the actual user interface. So let's get started on that. So here is our project so far. Let me just cd into it. And let's run the server. And let's test the search endpoint one more time just to make sure nothing broke. So search, and let's try this. Whoops. Oh wow, looks like something broke. Let's try %20. Much better. So here, this is worth pointing out. When I do a plus, the plus does not sub in for a space between two words. That's not how you denote a space in a URL. This is called URL encoding. Inside URL encoding, the notation for a space is %20. That is a space in a URL. So this is a valid URL now. So that's definitely worth remembering as you test your own endpoints. So glad we got that figured out. So now that we have that working, if you recall in the last video, I'm just going to comment out this console log. At the end of the last video, we set up all the imports for the React module. So we have everything we need imported to run a React project. So now let's set up the actual React source code. So here in the root level, let's create an src directory. Let's cd into that. Let's create the app.js file. Let's open that up and let's create a simple React component as per usual. So this by now should start to seem pretty standard. Okay, good. So now we have our React entry point ready to go. Let's set up the Webpack so that we can compile this project. So go back to your root level, set up the Webpack config. Let's get this guy going. Okay. App.js, and put this in the public directory. Let's go with build. Okay, so this is good enough for our Webpack config for now. If you want to use one from an old project, that's fine. Most of this is not too different anyway from project to project, but as you do more and more React work, you want to get used to building this out from the bottom up, because as your React career, I guess, gets deeper and deeper, you are going to need to know how to use all this on at the lower level, and to create varieties for each project. So that only comes through time and repetition. So you don't want to copy and paste all the time. You want to be able to do what I just did right here, even though I basically just rebuilt the file from a previous project. So let's go ahead and run the Webpack. Okay. So after I just said all that, got it wrong. So let's see here. What are we doing here? Spelled that wrong, so typo. So probably a good reason why you should copy and paste, to be honest, but we all make typos. All right. So there's our build. Let's go ahead and load that into the front end. And then if we go to our home page, of course we got to run the server. There it is, so that worked. So all set to go on the React side as far as setting up the React dependencies and whatnot. While it's on my mind, let's get rid of those other scaffolded directories that we're not going to use. So open up your public directory and get rid of the images, JavaScript, and style sheets, because we are going to use the ones from the theme. So now that we have a basic backend set up and the React modules environment all set to go, not that none of this is built out, but the pieces are in place. Now let's import the theme so that we can start building out some of the UI. So again, I'm going to use a theme from Theme Forest, the one that I showed you in video 1. This right here, this directory right here will be in the project files on the website when I post the tutorial, which will be, by the time you're watching this video, the tutorial will be up. So if you want to use the same theme, which you should, then go ahead and download it from that tutorial page, or like I showed you in video 1, you can just buy it from ThemeForest directly as well, and that's fine too. So let me just again, for good measure, show you where you can do that. So this is the theme I'm using right here. So you can just buy it directly from here. I believe it's $18, and then you can use the same theme to follow along in this tutorial. So let's go ahead and do that. So here is the theme as purchased from ThemeForest. So if you recall, well, maybe you didn't watch the theme video, but I made a whole video, a whole tutorial about just how to install a theme, which is right here. It's only two videos, and it's free, so you don't have to pay for this one. But we're going to do it all again right here anyway, so let's get to it. So first thing we want to do is open up your public directory. You want to grab the theme, and then you want to make a duplicate. You want to have basically two themes. You want to take the first one and put it right in the public directory. Just drag it right in. And then you want to open up the copy, like so. So here's the copy. We want to grab all the files from the theme. I'm sorry, not the files, all the directories. There's only 4. We want to grab these 4 directories and dump those into the public directory of the project, and then get rid of the copy. So now we have the theme sitting right here, just completely untouched. This is just the theme, as is, so to speak. And then we also have all the assets from the theme imported right here, these 4 directories. So what we can do now to confirm that this worked is go back to the home page right here and go to the following URL, theme/index.html. And it's going to look really big and sort of clunky at first, because don't forget, this is a theme that's designed for mobile. This is a mobile optimized theme. So if you do Option Command I on Chrome and click this little icon right here, it'll convert your browser into a mobile, basically a mobile app. And here's the theme as it's meant to be viewed in a mobile UI. So here's all the parts of the theme that we get right out of the box. This is pretty good from a mobile standpoint, and everything works pretty well. So we're going to use the shop page as our home page. Okay, so the shop.html from the theme will serve as our home page. So what we want to do is go to the theme/shop HTML in the code base. So here is the public/theme, and then we find shop.html. We just take all of that, just highlight the entire thing, and let's copy it into the index.hjs. Just copy over the entire thing. So take everything else that was in there, remove it, paste in what we had before, and then when you go to the actual home page, we see the theme and the page that we originally intended. And then go to the mobile UI again, just so you're looking at it the way we intended to. So now we have the theme integrated successfully. So let's do some work now to get this theme over into the React side of the project, so that we don't lose the React code. So first thing we got to do, if you recall from the theme tutorial, is we have to clean up the HTML. So all these comments, that's not going to work on the React side. So let's go ahead and get rid of all this stuff. Okay, great. And these are going to be imports, so these will stay over on the actual HTML. So here, from line 223 up to 27, so that whole block of code, HTML, this is what we want to import into the React side. So let's go ahead and set up the React code base to prepare for that import. So let's go back to our shell, our terminal. Let's cd into the source directory. Let's create a new directory called components. Let's cd into that. And let's create a new component called featured. And basically the first page, the first component that we see is going to be called the featured component, where the user can view featured podcasts. So let's go ahead and create that component. Okay, and so for now this is going to be it, and then let's, while we're here, let's set up the index before I forget. Great. Now let's import this into the app.js. And then let's render that right here. Okay, so what we want to do now is take all the code from that we copied in the index.js lines 27 through to 23, and we want to dump all of that inside the featured component. Okay, so I just cut all that from the home page, and I want to dump it all into here. And then now we have to make a lot of adjustments inside the HTML because a lot of this is not valid React code, as you may recall. So all these class attributes have to go, and they have to be replaced with class name. So I'm just doing a quick replace all right here, and that's one quick way just to get them all taken care of. That's simple and easy. Now the image tags are not closed. Do you see that? So here we have to close the image tags. So we have to manually go through and find all the image tags and then close them. Because in React you cannot have any open tags. You have to close all your tags. So we want to make sure we catch all the image tags and close them up. Okay, and usually in this process I miss a couple things here and there. Let me just do a quick search. Okay, great. And then other tags that often go unclosed are input tags, BR tags, break tags, and then HR tags. These are very common tags that go unclosed. So I don't see any input tags, no BR tags. Okay, good. So let's save this and then run the Webpack build and hope that it doesn't crash. Terrific. And then let's go back here, and before we run the server, don't forget our index.js has been completely stripped down. So let's go ahead and restore all the React code. And then I usually import the React bundle at the bottom of the imports. Alright, let's see how that looks. So now we run the server and then reload the page, and here we are. We see everything we saw a few moments ago, but this is all in the React code base. How can we confirm that? If we view the source code, look at the source code. It's just the React with the imports from jQuery and whatnot. So that means everything worked successfully. So this is definitely a good sign. So what we want to do next is clean up a lot of this UI because we made one big component that contains all these other pieces that should be their own components. Like for example, this footer should be its own component. This sidebar should be its own component. Maybe there should be a header, things like that. So let's go ahead and start carving it up right now. So what we have here on the bottom, not the bottom, excuse me. Right here, we have a footer tag, literally an HTML tag called footer. So that should actually be its own component. So let's go ahead to our src components. Let's create a footer component. Let's copy that, and let's set up all the React code as usual. Now the footer is going to be basically a pure view component. So I'm going to set this up as a stateless functional component because that's better practice for these situations anyway. So let's do that. Okay, and that could be it for that. And then we're going to want to add a props argument just in case we want to use that. All right, so then let's go back to our featured and let's import the footer. And let's get rid of it here. Usually I do a quick build and run just to make sure that it's not there. So when I reload the page, this footer should be gone. Well, just the footer, not all of it. So let's run the server. Okay, and that's it. The footer is gone. So now when I restore the footer using the component, we can be certain that it worked from the component rather than some stashed code, some cache code. Okay, so there it is. So now let's create another component for, whoops, that's not supposed to happen. Let's create another component for this called the navigation. So that is all of this stuff right here, including this little trigger section right here. That's the dot on the upper left, which gives you the navigation pop-up. Right, so let's go ahead and set that up. We'll call that navigation. Before I forget, let's add the footer to the index because we don't want to forget that later. Cool. Now let's go back here and set up a nav component. Add it to the import. And let's set this up. I'm going to do the same thing. We want to make this a stateless functional component. We may change our mind on that later. I sometimes do that, but for pure view components, that's usually best practice. Alrighty, so let's go back here and grab all the nav code. So it's embedded in a nav tag, which makes it easy. But then don't forget that little div above it, because that's part of the navigational flow. So we want to put that right here, and let's get our indents a little bit better. All right. So here we get rid of that, and then let's import the nav from the directory, and then check your Webpack. Hasn't crashed, so that's good. Run the server, and then when you reload, we should see everything but the nav bar because I removed it. So now if I put it back in, I will know that it's coming from the component rather than cached code. So there it is, the nav bar has been restored. So very good. So let's keep moving. So let's see here. So one last thing I want to do is take the list of podcasts out and put those into its own component. So components, let's just call it podcasts. And this component will be responsible just for rendering the list, literally the list of podcasts. So if you look closely, each one of these divs should represent one podcast. So let's go ahead and grab this one right here and put it inside here. I'm going to wrap it inside of one outer div. And then just do a couple of these, maybe 3. Okay, add it to the index. Go back to the featured and then import that. And then let's get rid of these guys. So that's 1. That's another one. Okay. And that's the last one. Okay, so if I reload, I'm going to see basically the shell with none of those images. That's good. And then let's put the podcasts component in place and hope that that restores the images. And it does. But not the one I wanted. Let's take that back out. Let's use the one that says accessories. I think I picked up a bad choice on the first one. So let's get rid of all these. And paste in the accessories one. Go back here and try it again. All right, cool. Okay, and just for symmetry, let's add that fourth one to not have an empty space right there. Very nice. All right, so everything is coming together now in terms of from a React standpoint. We took the theme, we imported it properly, we carved it up into their respective React components. What we should really do, and what I'm going to do in the next video, is divide these components into their respective types. So the footer and the nav those are basically just pure presentational components that are going to be just rendering information data. But the featured component is more of a layout component, right? This is really just storing a bunch of subcomponents. And right now the most important one is the podcast component that literally renders the podcast from the service, the iTunes API search service. So this is going to be the connected component, the quote-unquote smart component. So that would be considered a container. So in the next video, we want to separate these components into their respective classifications. So this is a container, presentation, and I'm calling this one a layout component because it literally contains all the other components in a layout. It lays out the other components. So, so yeah, we'll do that in the next video and then start showing the actual podcasts from a search. So stay tuned for that. Thanks.